Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Weekly Academics, and you're listening to Feza and Amdar. So, today we are in the second podcast of our fourth chapter, and we're discussing and moving towards the aggressive nationalists, and we're discussing the second phase of Indian nationalism. So, in the previous podcast, we discussed in depth the partition of Bengal. And now we're going to look into the anti-partition movements, the movements that took place in order to stop the partition, and later on what happened after the partition really took place. So I won't take much time, we'll just dive into it. It's quite easy to understand, just a chronology of events, nothing really to remember over here. It's just a small chronology of events. So let's get into it. Now, this decision that Bengal would be partitioned into East Bengal and Assam and Bengal shook the country as whole, and we've seen that quite a lot now. So, and when the Muslims also, they realized later on, by the end of it, they realized that they were actually deceived, and when they realized that, they feel insulted, humiliated, tricked. So now what happened is everybody joined together against the government and against the partition of Bengal. So important leaders like Surendranath Banerjee, Bipin Chandra Pal, Aurobindo Ghosh, Rabindranath Tagore, Anand Mohan Bose, all these people and many others, all these influential people, the various influential newspapers and journals, people, the ones that were most popular, all these joined together into an agitation, into kind of, they joined together to protest against the partition of Bengal. So on the 7th of August 1905, there was a massive meeting also held in the town hall of Kolkata, and at this meeting there were various students, various eminent leaders, all standing over there. The students were holding banners which said unity is strength, Vande Mataram, no partition, and etc, etc. And then there were various eminent leaders also, and in this meeting they passed this resolution of boycott. Okay, so we'll look into boycott also in a bit later in this podcast itself. But first, I'll go by the chronology of events, so I won't break the chronology. So now let's move into the next major step that happened. So we just saw what happened at 7th August 1905, right? The massive meeting held in a town hall in Kolkata. Now, by the time it was October, the partition was almost in act, and it was on 16th October 1905 that Bengal was finally partitioned. Okay, despite of all the protests, despite of all the urgings of the early nationalists and the eminent leaders, despite of trying to prove that this is not really a good step, the partition took place. And now this date, 16th October 1905, was known as the Day of Mourning. And on this day there were various cries. People from all over the country came together. There were protests, there were demonstrations, everybody crying Vande Mataram, and it all symbolized patriotism and unity. And there was a small meeting held later on, a bit later. A small meeting was held, presided over by Anand Mohan Bose, and in Kolkata itself. And in this meeting, they laid down the foundation of a federation hall. Okay, important it is the Federation Hall, and this hall was supposed to be a symbol of unity of the two provinces of Bengal now. The newly created province and the old province, and it was supposed to be now a meeting ground for the eastern and western parts of Bengal. So all people gathered at this place, place which was supposed to grow into the Federation Hall, and took a vow for Swadeshi. Okay, there were various eminent leaders. A very person worth mentioning over here is Rabindranath Tagore, who has written a poem especially for this entire scenario of the partition of Bengal, known as Amar Sonar Bangla, which means my golden Bengal. And there were various other people writing at this point of time. We'll look at it, it will come again in the later part. And this was quite an important event that happened. So now that we've established boycott and Swadeshi, let's look a bit deeper into what boycott and Swadeshi really is. Quite simple to understand, and a very interlinked concept. So, as you might already know, boycott simply means that you stop using certain goods. It's kind of a ban, but ban is something legal. Boycott is something taken up as a movement. Okay, so what did the Indians do? They started to boycott British goods. Now, when you boycott the British goods, it is necessary to have other goods in the market. The goods required for use, the market has to be flowing with some goods. Now, earlier it was flowing with British goods, so now if you're boycotting British goods, you need to have homemade goods. So that brings us to the Swadeshi. Swadeshi basically means using locally produced Indian goods. So that's how boycott and Swadeshi and interlinked. And this movement initially was just abstaining from purchase of British good and trying to purchase Indian goods. But later on it increased, it became more comprehensive, and people started boycotting various things. To name number one, English clothes, salt, sugar, etc., the actual goods. Secondly, they started boycotting, or I would say renunciation of English speech. Third, the renunciation of government posts and seats in the legislative council. That means that the people, they stopped taking part in the legislative councils, they stopped speaking English, they spoke in their local languages. And fourth, and the very important thing, it increased to such an extent that people started socially boycotting the persons who purchased foreign goods. So this boycott movement, if you realize, has became completely anti-British, and it developed into a policy of non-cooperation with the British in every field. So that was basically boycott and Swadeshi, and it's quite clear that they go hand in hand, because if you boycott, then you need something, and that's why it brings you to Swadeshi. And as I mentioned, I gave you a list of what all was boycotted and how important it is, because it was openly aggressively anti-British, and it led into a policy of non-cooperation with the British in every field. So now that all this happened, now pre-partition, we saw the movements that took pre-partition and now post-partition. So now let's look into what the impact of these things was. Swadeshi, boycott, or people protesting. What was the impact of this altogether? Okay, so the impact is quite significant though, but not really a major impact. So the Swadeshi and boycott, it brought all the Indians together. It united the Indians, for number one. And to give examples of how people executed that is like the cobblers refused to mend English shoes, or the dhobis, the washermen, they refused to wash English garments. Anybody who was found to be selling or buying foreign goods was socially boycotted. Their families boycotted him, and he was completely, considered to be not to be a part of the society anymore. So that was how they were boycotting goods: salt, sugar, clothes, everything. But this movement, it did not really break down the British government. It did not break down the English government. It did move them. It did show them the spirit of Indian unity, but it did not break it down. So all these events like the War of 1857 or even this event, these are stepping stones that have led India as a country towards its independence. They have not broke the government, but they're the cracks. And slowly all these cracks together, it broke the glass. Okay, so now this is another crack that comes up. And with this, what happened is it kind of impacted the economy also. So there are four major impacts of this to be mentioned, worth mentioning. Number one is the decline of import of British goods. Very obvious, because if you do Swadeshi, you're boycotting, so the import declines. Second is it was a stimulus to the Indian industries to grow. Okay, so Swadeshi again. Okay, you can connect it to Swadeshi. A stimulus for the Indian industries, for example, Bengal Chemical Factory, that was started by P.C. Ray. Then there was the establishment of Tata and Iron Steel Company. So all these industries, they got a stimulus. Okay, so and moving on to the third one, there was an urge for national education. Now people started becoming more aware, and that's why they realized that there is a need for national education, which led into the establishment of various schools and colleges in Kolkata and other places of the country also. And fourth, there was an outburst of literary activities. There was a lot of writings in the newspaper, people writing a lot, expressing a lot. Newspapers like Kesari, Maratha, Yugantar, various journals, everything was filled with various patriotic and nationalistic articles. Okay, so that's the four major impacts: decline in the imports, stimulus to Indian industries, urge for national education, and outburst of literary activities. And this leads us into another small part that happened. I'll just finish that quickly. Because of so much of writing and everything, people were started to be arrested under sedition. For example, Tilak was arrested for seditious writing in Kesari. In July 1908, he was deported to Mandalay, the jail of Mandalay, for 6 years of imprisonment. And earlier, even Lala Lajpat Rai, Sardar Ajit Singh, they were also sent to Mandalay. Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, all these people, these are the three main. Lal, Bal, Pal. We'll be studying them in detail, their contributions in detail in this chapter. But these were very eminent people in this period of time. They were the ones who influenced the public in this period of time. There were other young people also who were coming up, like Khudiram Bose, Prafulla Chaki, Madan Lal Dhingra, etc. And these people died at a very young age to fuel the nationalism more and to help these people live, the three that we're going to talk about. Okay, so in brief, this entire anti-partition movement was like a vigorous national movement, and this finally landed with a question, brought the people to a question as to the issue was whether British rule itself was to endure in Bengal, or for that matter anywhere in India. So people started thinking whether we should let the British rule the country now or not. That's what the people started thinking now. And with this thought, we will be moving on to the assertive nationalists. But in the next podcast, we'll be looking towards the Surat split, and then we'll move on into the programs and methods of struggles of the assertive nationalists. But by this period of time, I hope you understand. It's pretty clear that now people have started moving towards the thought of a complete self-government. The early nationalists wanted a colonial form of self-government. Now we're almost on the edge to move towards a complete self-government. Okay, so I'll leave you at this point, and for a better understanding, do watch the podcast on the early nationalists and the first podcast of this chapter. It will be quite clear if you have heard those. And until then, you're listening to Faiza Inamdar at Weekly Academics. Until then, if you want to listen to something soothing, relaxing, calm, just patient and just chill, you can listen to Your Life in My Voice. There are podcasts all available on YouTube made by Dr. Sabiha. And do like this podcast, share it with your friends. It will help them quite well to get through their history syllabus. And subscribe my YouTube channel Faiza Inamdar to get continuous updates about every podcast that I upload. And if you have any doubts, feedbacks, comments, put it down in the comments section or DM me at weekly.academics. That's my Instagram handle. So I'll get back to you soon with the discussion on Surat split of 1907. Until then, you're listening to Faiza Inamdar at Weekly Academics. Stay home, stay safe, be healthy. Bye-bye.